As we continue to learn more this evening about the Orlando nightclub shooting and the gunman, the director of the FBI says that the shooter expressed support for a jumble of often conflicting Islamic organizations. He said Omar Mateen called 911 during the attack and not only pledged his loyalty to the Islamic State, but also expressed solidarity with the Brotherhood of ISIS as well. And he expressed solidarity with those who carried out the Boston bombing, the marathon bombing. The FBI investigated Mateen for 10 months, beginning in May of 2013. Mateen claimed that he made the remarks because co-workers were teasing him because he was Muslim. As for whether the FBI should have done anything differently, Director James Comey says so far he really doesn't think so. We have a very distinguished panel of experts here to talk more about this. Joining us, John MONROE from Georgia Carry, who has been here many times before. Thanks so much for joining us. Also joining us from Washington, D.C., Republican Congressman Barry LOUDERMILK from Georgia's 11th Congressional District. And I'm going to start right there with the Congressman. You've served on Homeland Security Task Force and Terror and Foreign Fighters. The president said that there is no clear evidence that the shooter was directed by outside forces. So how concerning is that for you? How do we deal with that?
Well, the big problem that we have right now is a lack of priority, I think, from the administration on addressing these. Yeah, there may not be a link that we know immediately that he was directed by outside sources, but we do know the ideology that was behind it. Mm-hmm. We do know that this is falling in line with the Chattanooga type attack, the Garland, Texas attack. These are the some have deemed as lone wolf attacks. These are individuals who are acting out under the extreme ideology that we've seen before, with the idea of killing Americans. And so we have to take this in that approach, is that it is an extreme ideology that is driving these perpetrators to go out and kill Americans.
Congressman, the shooter was able to buy these guns legally. Even if the FBI ends up investigating him because he had no charges on his record whatsoever, should background checks be changed so that you have more scrutiny on somebody who at least was on an FBI wanted list or FBI watch list?
Well, it depends on what watch list he was on. Clearly, the FBI had determined that through their investigations, they didn't think he was an immediate threat. This is where I think we've got the problem. You know, the President of the United States initiated an executive order on guns to hire 200 more ATF agents to go after gun owners, when he could have used those agents in the Homeland Security to go after terrorists. Instead of hiring 230 more administrators in the FBI, we could have hired more FBI agents. The FBI is stretched to the max. That's why they have to prioritize who they're going after, who they're investigating, who is the most significant threat. That's one of the reasons I'm sure that they didn't pursue the investigations on these guys. Administration instead has cut $599 million from the Department of Homeland Security budget for this coming year, and has moved a lot of that money to climate change. This is why I'm saying it's a priority issue. It isn't about background checks. It's about going after the people who are perpetrating these acts of evil on Americans.
All right, John MONROE with Georgia Carry, I got to ask you, bring you in on this, and inevitably, gun control comes up whenever we have instances like this. So would you be in favor of any kind of stricter controls on the purchasing of guns? And what about assault rifles, the assault weapon that was used in this tragedy, been used in so many others prior to that?
Well, I'd have to know what the proposal was in terms of additional background checks.
So you would be open?
Well, I'd be open to it, certainly. Okay. But from all we know, this guy had no prior criminal history, and the FBI had investigated him and determined there was nothing that warranted further investigation. So there's no reason why he would have been denied a gun purchase.
What about a ban on assault weapons?
Well, assault weapon is a term that's been invented to describe cosmetic features of a normal semi-automatic rifle.
They shoot faster than a pistol. I don't know a lot about guns, but I'm thinking they shoot faster than a pistol.
No, that's not true. They fire as fast as your finger can pull a trigger. That's true of a semi-automatic pistol as much as a semi-automatic rifle. In fact, the only difference between a rifle and a pistol is one has a shoulder stock and one doesn't.
All right, so you would not be in favor of banning any kind of weapon, particularly an assault weapon that we're talking about here?
No, it wouldn't make any difference.
All right.
There is no common ground, essentially, between your side and between those on the left who want to try and make sure that the Second Amendment is not an overreach. Do you agree with that? I mean, look, Robert Kennedy was shot almost 48 years ago this week. And the argument
with a revolver.
the arguments then were the same as they are now. I mean, nothing has really changed. Nothing has been decided. Those who were for gun control and those who were against it, you know, through the generations seem to be pretty much as they were.
Yeah, Robert Kennedy was assassinated with a revolver, not a semi-automatic pistol or rifle. John Kennedy was shot with a bolt-action rifle, again, not a semi-automatic.
But the issue there was gun control. I mean, I'm not talking the specifics of how a gun is operated as much as I am the deadly force that was invoked here. Where people want some kind of control, others do not. There is no middle ground in this.
But Brenda's question was pointed at the features of a gun, assault weapon, and
Yes.
that conjures up certain features of it, such as being a semi-automatic rifle, and whether it has a forward pistol grip.
We want to thank our panelists here in the studio as well for being with us. As we knew from the start, we would not have enough time to talk about all the details of this and all of the various issues that are raised when we have such a horrific event like we did in Orlando.